This episode is brought to you by Triggered 22 LLC, a veteran-owned apparel company. By purchasing a t-shirt, hat, or hoodie from Triggered 22, you're not only supporting a small business, but you're bringing awareness to veteran PTSD and suicide. Please help save the lives of those who fought for our freedoms. Visit triggered22.com now and place your order. Let's help those suffering from invisible wounds.
Welcome to the American Grown Podcast, hosted by Austin Sullivan. The American Grown Podcast will focus on people from different walks of life and their journey to where they are now. Now, turn up your volume and settle in for a great episode.
Hi, I'm Austin Sullivan. This is the American Grown Podcast, recorded inside the Colortech Creative Solutions studios. Today, we have Greg Munnion, Hybrid Athlete and Motivational Influencer. Greg, welcome to episode 36 of the American Grown Podcast.
What's going on? It's good to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thank you for coming in. I appreciate you being here. So some of the topics we want to discuss include drug and alcohol abuse, fitness, and consistency. Let's tell the listeners how we first met, because I think that's a pretty interesting story, and it goes back to, I don't know, 2010, 2009, something like that.
Yeah, you were still in high school, living your glory days.
Yeah, I think it was Falcon Youth football camp or something.
Yep.
And for those that don't know, it would have been between Earl Bolt Stadium and the VA, right?
Yep.
So over there where the throwers are for spring for the track and field. And I remember, I think I was a junior going into senior year, and all the football players, had to help out, give back. And I just remember you having this long hair.
Long blonde hair, man. It's like Goldilocks.
Yeah, looking like Sunshine from Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
And I don't know how. I don't know who came up with it, but
probably Coach War.
It probably was Coach War. Exactly, yeah. You just were, you were Hollywood.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like to everybody.
Yeah. So that nickname kind of stuck. Honestly, I didn't even know your name was Greg until maybe a couple of years ago. I was just always, hey, it's Hollywood. I mean, every time I'd see you,
every time I see you taking pictures and taking our football pictures and everything.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've known each other for quite some time. I've watched you grow up, photographed you, football, track, what else? Basketball, yeah, your career in basketball, which has had some ups and downs,
Yeah.
For sure. But, let's dive into it now. What was, your early childhood like? Let's get that whole background story.
To start off, I go way back. I grew up in South London. I still live there now, actually. I bought that house from my dad pretty recently.
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Seriously. Yeah.
Thanks. That was one of my goals growing up ever since I got out of college, but we'll get to that. And way back, I was with my mom, my dad, and my full sister, and that's Abby. We lived at 202 Crest Road, way out South London, and, times were a little different out there for me. It was tough growing up. I was young, didn't really know, obviously, what was going on in the real world. And my dad and my mom, they weren't always on good terms. And my mom had a little bit of an alcohol problem, and my dad, he was always working. I mean, he was a hard worker, and I'll give that to him. It's where I get it from, no doubt. Some nights, it would get late, and I would be alone with my sister or whatever, and it was just a little bit of a rough childhood growing up there. Some of the things you see when you're growing up, and I say it now because I don't drink alcohol, and it's like people say, why? It's just a little bit, or you're just having fun.
Yeah.
And it's like I've seen the things that alcohol does to people, some of the worst, and it scars you. It leaves some pain still in there where it's like, I don't need anything to do with that. It's just not me. I mean, some nights you can get into staying up as late as 2, 3 in the morning at 4, 5, 6 years old. And I was sitting on that couch, just waiting for a car to come down the road. Hopefully it would be my parents, and it's like, where are they at? Where's my sister doing? It's like I was sleeping on the couch. Fun fact, I slept on the couch until I was probably 18, 19 years old.
Really? So what did you think was going on? I mean, like you said, you're so young, sleeping on the couch, waiting for your parents to come home.
So I mean, it was like I was so young, I really had no idea. It was like just where I was just kind of thinking like, where are they at? What's going on? So it's weird. Even when I would sleep and they wouldn't be home, if I would fall asleep, I would almost wake up because I had a feeling I was alone. Like it was like, why is it so quiet? Like where? So I would sit there and wait and wait and wait, and they come down the street. I mean, they would get home and it's like, I'm so young, I really don't know what's going on, and they're just belligerently drunk. Not my dad, mainly my mom. He's trying to keep her in line, and like I had no idea what was going on, but I would they would just scream and yell and fight, and it's like, as a 6-year-old, 5-year-old kid, you're like, what's going on? Like, why are they acting like that? Or why are they, all I'm doing is like caring for them. And it's like, you're just kind of getting yelled at, where it's like, all right, like, I don't know really what's going on, what I'm doing wrong, but doing something wrong. So
you have an older sister, right?
Yeah. Abby.
Yeah. So what was she doing, or how, was she comforting you? Like, what was going on?
Yeah. I mean, she was good with me growing up. She's like 2 or 3 years older than me. She kind of always did have an idea what was going on somehow. I know she was a little definitely smarter in that aspect than I was with that kind of stuff. So she would definitely help me out. You know, we would be there for each other, and that was a long road coming with her for sure. She helped me out a lot. Like, I definitely appreciate her for doing that for me. But she would kind of just be in her room. She had no problem sleeping in her room. You know, I was kind of just like that worried kid. I kind of just sat out there like, you know, where's mom and dad at? You know, I just had that, like, I would have that feeling being alone, where it's like, I need some comfort to know that, like, I'm safe.
Right.
And I probably even wasn't safe, but, you know, it's just, as a kid, you're like, where's mom and dad at? And I was such a mama's boy too.
Were you?
It was like, yeah, I was. So it was a little tough for me to see those things, but it was also became normal. You know what I mean? Where it was like, you see things where it's like, it just becomes normal so much because you see it so often, and then you just wake up the next morning and it's like, just forget about it. Like, you know, it didn't happen. Like, it didn't happen.
Really?
I mean, you could talk about it all day long about the nights and nights again and again every single weekend. My mom worked at a bar, actually. She was a bartender. So that's kind of how it got started. But then moving on from her being an alcoholic and me going through that as 6, 7, 8 years old, maybe, we ended up moving to Plaza Apartments over by Kohl's, and then we moved to Summit Square, and I met so many good friends there. You know, I played outside a lot. I was an outdoor kid. It was just, you never want to be home. Like,
that was your escape, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So it was cool to hang out with those friends a lot. We played football. You know, I met a lot of good people there. Kind of older kids. So I kind of, like, I was younger, you know, because you were older, and it was like I almost like connected with older kids better.
Oh, you definitely did. It's like your personality or something. I don't know what it was, but you definitely clicked. Like, I just remember, like I said, first time meeting you, I was like, this guy's special. Like, he's gonna do something. I don't know what he's gonna do, but he's gonna make an impact.
There was like something in me that kind of just probably made me grow up a little quicker than most. You know, you just go through some things where it's like you have no choice but to grow up. So you kind of have a little bit more of a mature mindset.
Exactly. And probably going through that so early on, you had to mature a lot quicker.
Yeah.
You know, you had to take on responsibilities that maybe, you know, other kids, you know, your age wouldn't have to take on.
Exactly. So, I mean, living in like the Plaza Apartments and Summit Square, it was actually a good time. My mom was doing good, and we were doing good. We were pretty happy there. And from what I know, you know what I mean? Met a lot of good people, a lot of good friends. Moving on from there, we lived there through like elementary school, getting into middle school, and then my mom actually going through her mom's like end of her life. You know, it was tough on her, and my mom had a very tough childhood too. So she just went through a lot of traumatic things that probably took a good toll on her. But when we got into that, we ended up moving. She wanted to start like some kind of business, some kind of nursing business on Moravian Street. And when we got into there, it's kind of when she got into like some tough times, and I think she got into some bad crowds, and, you know, she got into some kinds of drugs. Going through the drug scene, you know, it's just it's very common in London. You know, it's a bad.
Well, it's worse than people think.
No, it's a lot worse.
And I don't even know. You know, just the little that I know. So okay, so let's back up a little bit. What grade? What age?
I would probably say I was like 10, 11 years old. When 10, 11, 12 years old, around then, when my grandma passed away and my mom was going through that tough time. So, and that was tough for me too, because I don't know what it is. I just grew up with all like my sisters, my mom. I mean, I lived with my dad for a little bit, but it was like more like that maturing age for me. I was going through, I was living with women. So I was just always with my mom, and I was, like I said, I was a mama's boy, and my sisters always took care of me when my mom wasn't around. So we kind of just had that connection. Then I had that connection with my grandmas too. Like when I was little, I was really, really connected with my dad's mom. And then I just had a good connection with my mom's mom. I didn't see her too often, but when I did, it was kind of just like she always just favored me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we just had a good connection. And then going through that, it was tough for my mom, and it was tough for me too. I was a little younger, so you know how it is.
Yeah. You had mentioned it was getting better. So it sounds like your mom was kind of getting off of drinking and fighting those demons. But then, her mom passes away, obviously devastating, whenever you lose a loved one. Now, do you know or remember what substances she started to use then, or how?
Well, she got in like I said, the wrong crowd, and I think it kind of started, which a lot of people start with, like it's like oxycodone or oxycodone.
Oxycodone,
yeah, and that goes into like the prescription drugs, and people getting the pain pills and all that stuff. So I mean, a lot of it starts with that, which that's why a lot of prescription companies were getting sued and all that.
Well,
it
escalates quickly. It starts out maybe trying something here or there, and at least from what I think of it, and then all of a sudden you're getting into it. But yeah, you're right. Lebanon, and I'm sure it's everywhere. York, Lancaster, Harrisburg, throughout the country. But I know just here where we're at, Colortech, right across the streets and some of the alleys, cops are there all the time, busting people because I don't know what's going on, but I know it's not supposed to be going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a shame because you worry about like the youth and like what you had to go through. I mean, obviously you turned out great. Look at you. I mean, you turned out all right, but it's like, it's a shame that our young people have to fight these battles. Your death of your grandma, obviously traumatic. What then? Like what started coming on? When did sports really become big in your life?
So when we got into sports, it was around 8th grade. I was playing football. I played football my whole life, but when we got into like middle school is when you kind of start to get serious. Kids start to be like, all right, I got to go to the workouts now and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I get tied up with some good people. I mean, Zach Keffer, one of my best friends for life for sure, and Grayson Williams, good dude. Those two especially, those guys were big help, and I doubt they even know it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they were a big help, and the Keffer family and the Williams family, like the whole families, they took care of me. They took me in. They gave me the rides that I needed, and they kind of they may not have known exactly what was going on, but they just took it into their own hands to take care of me for life. I appreciate them for that. So we got into 8th grade, and then I was taking football pretty serious. But then after football, it was like life got real tough in 8th grade with my mom and drugs, and I was kind of having to, take things into my own hands when I was living with my mom. We were living out in Cornwall. We moved from in the city, moved out to Cornwall, and she was just involved with the wrong people, and I was probably in not a safe environment. So then I actually ended up going cyber school in 8th grade after football
I
season.
didn't know that.
Yeah. Not many people realize that, honestly. I mean, my absence must not have meant.
Oh, dude, no.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no.
But after football, I went to cyber school, and then I actually wasn't even doing it. I wasn't even like.
You probably hated it because I can't see you doing cyber school.
No. I'm a very social person.
You are.
So,
yeah, exactly.
And that's good for kids, like when they go to school and they socialize. Because I mean, my nephews and stuff, they do the same thing. Like they need that social part of the school. Not many people realize that. Like not many teachers and stuff realize that. Like there's kids that like they don't need school. Like they probably, I mean, who knows what they're gonna do after. Like maybe just go to work or whatever, which is fine. But like they need school more than school needs them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Or
100%.
they need sports. They need football more than football needs them sometimes. So like if there's kids that maybe sit the bench a lot, or like in basketball, like I sat the bench. I quit freshman year, got cut sophomore year, got on the team junior year and senior year. And I think Coach Smith honestly really helped me out. And I played JV junior year, whatever. I don't care about that. I was one of those kids that probably needed basketball more than basketball needed me, and Coach Smith realized that, and that's why like forever I'll appreciate him for taking me in on that too.
He's a great guy.
He's a great dude.
He's a great guy, and I agree with everything you're saying because I feel like humans in general, right? We're we're creatures, social creatures, and school, sports, exactly like you said, is that escape. Whether the coaches or teachers know it at the time, we don't know the demons that each other battle. Like we don't know that, and we don't know what our families are going through. So it's important to, I think, keep in touch with those family members, with those friends, like you said, even back to Zach. But like even just giving a ride and things like that, like meant the world to you, and like they probably had no idea, but like that really affects somebody.
Oh yeah. I mean, just little things like that. There's little care things that you just didn't get from people that you thought that you should get it from, but then they give that to you, and it's almost like they got love for you more than people that should have that love for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and obviously my mom had no idea. She wasn't in the right state of mind or anything during that time.
Yeah.
But I went to cyber school, and then I actually got into. They told me like, you're probably gonna fail 8th grade if you don't come back, so you should probably come back.
Wait, so the school like
the school reached out
and said, if you don't come, but you're doing cyber school.
I was doing cyber school through this program at Cedar Crest.
Oh, so they could like see how
they
you're doing.
They could see there was like somebody who was in charge of it, and then they would see my progress and probably see that I wasn't doing it. I was probably going to the YMCA every day.
Well, at least you're doing fitness. I mean, at least you're working out. It could have been worse. You could have been doing worse things.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Okay, so the school's like, you got to get back.
Yeah, and it was actually the start of PSSAs. I'll never forget it. And they were like, you got to come back, take these PSSAs, and then you'll come back to school permanently. So I was like, all right. So the first day, I woke up late, missed the bus.
Oh,
so I'm like, oh man, I don't know what I'm gonna do here. I don't want to fail. So I was like, well, I mean, I know my way around. I knew my way around better than an 8th grader like should have.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'll just walk. I'll walk to Cedar Crest from Cornwall. So I walk there. I get there, and I'm soaked. And the principal's like, why are you wet? And I'm like, I had to walk here. I missed the bus. He's like, wait, you walked here? Like you couldn't get a ride? And I was like, well, he's like, where are your parents? And I'm like, what am I supposed to say? You know what I mean? So it's like, he's just like, all right, no explanation needed. Just like, and I just, from that time on, I went into back to school, got into track and field, which was a big part of my life growing up through high school then. And I ended up passing 8th grade, thankfully.
There you go, good, right?
And then after that, going into like high school, like I said, Keffer and all those dudes, we just got real tight, and that kind of just carried me right into high school.
Brotherhood.
Yeah.
It's like a brotherhood.
Pretty much, yeah.
So while this is all going on, like you had to walk. That's a pretty good distance for, listeners or people that aren't from Lebanon area. I mean, what would you say that, like an hour?
Oh, yeah,
if not two.
I would probably say like definitely an hour walk from Cornwall Elementary to Cedar Crest.
Yeah, that's a good hike. So while that's going on, your mom's fighting her demons. Your dad just working full time, or I know you're not.
My dad was a mason. He was a block mason since he was 15 years old. And for anybody that doesn't know like what a block mason is, I mean it's tough work. Like he's blue collar more than anybody I know. And
they're tough too.
Oh yeah.
Tough, yeah.
I mean that guy gets a hold of you. His paws, man. He'll probably
claws.
scratch up my neck with those calluses.
Yeah.
So he was just doing that. He was doing that a lot. I mean, that's a tough job. It's a long days, and you just don't have much in you after a work day. But he would come and check on me, and for whatever reason, I believe my mom had custody of me or something. So I had to stay there for that time. Everybody's like, why wouldn't you just move out or whatever?
Right. That seems like the simple solution. Just move out. But
the system, man, it's like it was weird. So she ended up having custody of me, I believe, and then it took some time for them to be like, all right, obviously this isn't a safe living environment. You can leave. Yeah. So that's when I did. After 8th grade, I moved into my dad's house going into freshman year. So that was like one of the biggest blessings of my life right there. But yeah, he would come and check on me. He would knock on the window. The door would be locked. He would knock on the window and make sure I was all right. And it would be early mornings. I mean, it would be 5:00 in the morning. He'd be on his way to work, and he'd come knock on the window and make sure I was all right. He would always check on me. I mean, I'm his only son, so he's got that. Got that. You would know.
I got a baby boy on the way.
You got a baby boy on the way. Yep. Congrats.
Thank you, Hollywood. Yeah.
That's probably. I mean, for him, that was a big goal when he was. Yeah. Obviously becoming a dad, it was like, obviously a dad wants a boy.
You do anything for your kids, but like the boy, that's the heir, to your last name, So
exactly. So you want to carry that on. That was big for him, and he did a good job checking up on me and doing what he could when he could. So I always, me and him are just like more now is more of like I wouldn't say like brothers or friends, but we're like best friends.
Yeah.
We're like best friends.
Yeah.
Obviously, we still have that dad-son connection always, obviously, but
it's more. It's something more to it.
It's more than that now. Like, you just have that.
Because you've been through stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Exactly.
Yeah.
So now you mentioned track and field and how that impacted your life. Coach Bear. I see you have Team Tiff, a wristband on, the pink wristband. So
Always.
tell us a little bit about that and, kind of wrap up like your high school career.
When we got into high school, I moved in with my dad freshman year. My mom still wasn't doing well, but, she was kind of on her own. So it was what it was. I wasn't really thinking too much about it. And me and my dad out there where we're at now, living on our own, and got into freshman year football. Actually, freshman year of football, first game at Penn Manor, I broke my wrist playing quarterback. That was a big hit because, I was feeling really good about that year. You're kind of just developing. It's a big development year.
Right.
I was feeling really good. We were playing well, and that was a big hit to me and my dad because, we had a love for football as me playing. He loved watching me, and I loved playing. So that was a big hit. But, when I broke my wrist, I still went to football every day because that was still like my getaway, like my mental. I just had mental clarity when I was at football. Like I had no worries.
Yeah.
I was with my buddies, but like you said, brotherhood. Like that's the important part about playing sports, growing up for kids, is just that brotherhood. Like I see a kid now that was on my football team that might have been a sophomore and I was a senior, and sometimes kids kind of think they're like just too good to talk to those kids when they're seniors or whatever. That just wasn't me. Like if I see a sophomore kid now that was on my team when I was a sophomore, or when he was a sophomore, I was a senior, it's still, we still have that bond. It's like, you've been through those 2-a-days, you've been through those.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So
it's not blood, but yet it's damn near close.
It's a camaraderie.
You know what I mean?
Like you never really lose that. I see kids in the gym now, and I'm like, I still say what's up to them, even if we don't talk much outside of there. And it's like, no matter what, you've been through some tough days together and enjoyed those days together too. I mean, Cedar Crest football and Cedar Crest track and Cedar Crest basketball, those days are something you'll never forget.
Mm-hmm.
Never forget. Like 2 days, you dread those days sometimes, but in the end, getting to this point now, we're probably like, man, I'd do anything to go back to those days.
Oh yeah, to go back and throw again, or God, getting a 3-point stance. You know what I mean? And line up against somebody to hit them. Yeah,
just to throw some pads on one more time.
You
just can't beat that feeling.
I think any athlete would say that, whether swimming, softball, basketball, baseball. It's like, to go back just for a game, maybe two.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, junior high school, things are getting better, right? Things are getting good.
Yeah,
playing sports.
Yeah, playing sports. Grades are good. Actually, complete change from 8th grade year. All through high school, I perfect attendance.
Nice.
Yeah. So
that's phenomenal.
That's with my dad. It was kind of just, my dad's just one of the people that was just show up. All you got to do is show up. You don't need to be the craziest athlete out there. You don't need to be, the biggest overachiever. It's more of just about being consistent. So show up day in, day out, and do what you got to do, get the job done. And if you do that, success will come. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you show up, you can't go wrong. When times get tough, you're still showing up. When times are easy, you're still showing up. So football really helped out with that. And then you go right from football into basketball season, and then you go right from basketball into track season. And you didn't want to miss practices, because if you miss practices,
you're behind.
Yeah. So that really helped me out. Like you mentioned, Coach Smith, awesome dude. I mean, who won't want to show up and play for that guy?
Oh yeah,
he's
so motivational.
He's one of the best dudes in that school for the kids and for the players.
Yeah.
And then football, sophomore year was Coach Wildison's first year, my sophomore year, and he's an awesome dude. Along with other guys that he brought in, I mean, Coach Kirsch, Coach Love, all those dudes, we created a crazy bond. Coach Gerhardt, crazy bond with those guys as us being their first group. And then, obviously, we all know Coach Rob Bear, legend around Lebanon County. So
phenomenal
showing up
guy.
for those guys was amazing, and you want to show up for those guys. You didn't dread practice.
Right.
Like some kids are like, oh man, I just want to get to game day. I just want the season to be over. I never had that thought in my mind. Never, because you're with your boys. You got good coaches.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
you can't beat it.
You can't beat it.
You can't beat
You
it.
really can't beat it. So
And yeah, it's funny you mention that because even I graduated in 2011. When did you graduate?
2017.
2017 from Cedar Crest. So even like back then, I had Coach War and of course Rob Bear, Coach Bear. I just did track and football, but even my ninth grade coach, Steve Lebo, who was on the podcast, like good coaches bring out the best in athletes. And like you said, you want to play for them, you want to show up to practice, and it means a lot. So they got some great coaches over there at Cedar Crest, for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
You can't beat those guys.
So now, life after high school, you went to LVC.
Went to LBC for a year. One of the bigger events that I'll never forget in my life was getting out of senior year, high school, playing football. Your first thought is kind of like all your buddies are going to play football, so it's like I want to play football in college.
Yeah,
and then
right.
when you can, you're like, well, I might as well because
Yeah.
I'm going anyway. So I was thinking LVC just to stay home and commute. Try to keep it a little cheaper. Me and my dad didn't have much money.
What were you? I'm sorry. What were you going for? Like, what was?
It was more of just like a business
Okay.
major. It was like first I wanted to be a teacher, then I kind of just switched to a business major. So then I was like, well, I'll just grind this out,
Yeah,
whatever.
I could see you being a badass history teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first day of football camp, go into football camp, go through the whole day, and I get to my dorm at night with the other kid that's commuting, and me and him, we played different positions, and we didn't really have much in common. So I was kind of just like sitting there on my bed, and I'm like thinking in my head like, nah, this isn't for me. I had a second thought about it before I went, and then I ended up going still because my dad, just being my dad, he's like, just try it out, see how you like it, whatever. And then when I'm there, he's like, well, you're there now, just keep going. And I'm like, it's just not for me. It's not for me. And I kept telling him, and I was like, you gotta come pick me up. And he came and actually picked me up from football camp. And he was very mad that I left. He's pretty disappointed.
Was he?
Yeah, and he actually didn't talk to me for like a week after that.
Oh, come on, Dad.
So
Yeah, I understand. I mean,
but then he ended up understanding. He ended up just.
he wants the best for you. So
Yeah.
he wanted you to keep going after it, but yet, I mean, I could see that. So it was just one day at camp. Yeah, that's all you made it through.
That's all I made it through. One day at camp.
Now it wasn't because of the workout. It was just
no.
mentally.
I actually did very, very well for a freshman. I mean, I worked out hard to go into that environment with those other kids because I was expecting a lot more. When I got there, I was just like, obviously just not for me. So I ended up leaving, and I ended up still staying at LVC. That was like 2 weeks before the school year even started. So then I still went through a year at LVC, and I met some awesome people at LVC. Still was working out with the track team a little bit, some good people on that team. I actually met a couple of basketball kids. I knew some kids from the basketball team. And I met a kid, actually, Gordon Scholler. He lives in Long Island, New York. Good dude. I still talk to him to this day. And I didn't even go back. I went 1 year at LVC, didn't go back. And he's like, oh, man, you're not coming back. And I'm like, probably not. I can't afford it. So even still, he was like one of my best friends. Like, I feel like I only knew him for that time, but he would do anything for me if I needed.
Shout out Gordon Scholler.
Yeah, shout out that dude. I mean, that guy's... He's still a ride or die no matter what.
That's awesome. Wow, that's a tight bond. You know what I mean? To get it that quick.
Oh yeah, and that's what college does. It kind of just brings, and college is not a bad thing. It brings a lot of people with different mindsets together, and you meet a lot of good people. I know a lot of my buddies, and they meet a lot of friends that you keep that friendship for your life.
Right.
I mean, frat brothers or however you go about college. It's a good environment. It's not all bad. There's a lot of bad things pushed on college. Some kids get the benefit out of it. Some kids don't. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a good mixing pot, melting pot. Everybody's kind of gets thrown in to the same situation, especially freshman year. You don't know what you're walking into. So you got to make those bonds real quick and find your friends, really.
Yeah, your little group.
Yeah, exactly.
Get caught up with. Yeah, no doubt.
Done with LVC. Did you then go right into a full-time job, or what was that transition like?
So I got out of I passed through my freshman year at LVC. And then it was a struggle, I'm not going to lie, but I got through. And then I was helping my dad work a little bit. And Coach Smith, actually, I was helping him at his house do some landscaping. He was like, my dad's got a job, summer help. And I was like, sounds good. I'll try that out. Why not?
Yeah.
And I didn't know that it was 40 hours a week as coming out of like college. So I'm like, all right, sounds good. So I kind of committed to that for that summer. That was literally like God's plan right there, going into that job. because I met some of the best and got close with some of the best people that I'll probably ever meet in my life. Like Coach Smith, obviously one of the greatest dudes I know. And then getting in with his family, you can't, like, that family was the biggest blessing I've ever even experienced. Like I told you about the Keffers and all them, but I get into the Smith family and they helped me through some tough times. Like, and I appreciate everybody that's helped me out. I started working with Coach Smith's dad, who's, like I said, had a job for me, and I helped out summer help. And I was going to go back to college. And actually, I woke up the morning I was going back to college, and I wasn't going to be summer help anymore, obviously. And I got an email that they're like, oh, you're going to have to pay this much because you lost this grant or whatever. And I was like, no, that's not happening.
Yeah, that's
like,
wild.
I'm sorry.
The day of, like that morning?
Yeah, that morning, I checked my email, and I'm like,
Jesus.
yeah, you got to come to like this office and talk to us about this and that. And I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, where do I drop out at?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I said. Like, where do I resign?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Where do I get out of this? Because, exactly like you said earlier, college and going there, I think it's definitely worth the investment. Like, if you know what you want, you're going lawyer, doctor, that kind of stuff. But if you're not sure, like, why not do, a hack or Reading Area Community College, 2-year, 4-year, and then go from there. But, there's a lot of great paying jobs out there that need hardworking people.
Yeah.
So it's awesome that, at that young age, you're like, no, this ain't happening. Like, this ain't worth it. So, okay, continue from there, yeah.
So that day, my boss at the Cornwall borough, which is actually Coach Smith's dad, Tom Smith, good guy. We call him Linker.
Linker? Shout out Linker.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No,
Okay.
awesome dude. One of the best people I've ever met also. And he texted me. He's like, how was class? And I'm like, yeah, class didn't happen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Class was good.
Right? Class was good.
So then
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I didn't go back, whatever. He's like, well, we can bring you back. We still got some money in the summer help fund, whatever. So I was like, awesome, appreciate it. So I went in the next day, went back to being summer help. From there, they ran out of summer help money, got into actually helping out Gordy Haynes.
Yeah.
With his carpet cleaning business.
Did you? I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I helped him for like 2 months. At the end of that 2 months, one of the guys at the Cornwall borough had quit. And they knew that he was probably going to quit soon, but they didn't know when. So then he did, and Linker called me up, and he's like, would you like a full-time job? And I'm like, dude, heck yeah. Like, that's like the best news I could get right now because I need something steady. You just need something where you're like, all right, I got a good base.
Right.
And I'm not, because not that working with Gordy wasn't a good base, but it was like, I needed something where I had I didn't have insurance. Like, I didn't have insurance growing up. So it was like, you need the insurance, you need the better pay and everything else. So they took me in at the Cornwall borough, and I'm still there. And just have those opportunities working with those good guys. I mean, Linker, his brother, Brian, another awesome dude I met was Mikey Parker, which grew up with my dad, which is crazy.
No
I mean,
way.
these are older dudes.
Yeah.
But
right.
But we create a bond with those guys.
You gelled. You gelled with them. Yeah.
And you just find so many connections. I mean, just awesome dudes. And I was so fortunate to be able to get in there with those guys, and I still am. And got in with the Cornwall borough, got in full time. My first goal as soon as I got that job was I'm gonna make my dad debt free. Like he had some tax stuff he had going on, and he was still paying a house payment on a house that shouldn't have been paying a house payment on because of my mom, whatever. And I was just my first goal was get him debt free.
Getting debt free. And how old?
I was 19.
19, and this is what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Most 19-year-old kids, I think, are thinking like, okay, I'm getting the new PS5, or I'm getting this car, or something like that.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, ever since I was, 10, 11 years old, reality hits for me a lot sooner. So when I got to that 19-year-old age, and I was like, well, now you're in the real world. Like, now you're about to experience. You're an adult now. No matter whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
That's what you got to take, because this is the opportunity that I had. So I took the opportunity and went with that. And actually 2 years ago, I ended up buying, like I said, I bought my house from my dad. With that money, that cleared, and he sold his apartments. That cleared all of his debt. And then we transferred the house over to my name. And now my dad can live a lot more stress-free.
Dude, that's
and
awesome.
He does a lot of fishing now, a lot of sleeping.
Yeah.
A lot of babysitting of my sister's kids, and he just loves being a grandpa now. So, I mean, I'm so happy to see him stress-free. That was my goal. And now that I have that, it gives me like some fulfillment for sure.
It's probably a weight off your shoulders.
Oh,
Because
100%.
probably since a young age, you've had that in the back of your mind, wanting to take care of your family, support your family, and then especially your father as you got older and you guys really connected.
Yeah. I mean, just to get into taking care of my dad, just what he did for me growing up, it was like I finally got to pay him back. So now that we have that, it's even more of a bond together. And he's so glad that I have the house, because he had that house growing up. His grandparents built the house.
Oh, wow.
So
it's been in your family for generations.
Yes, ever since it was built.
That's awesome.
And it was an awesome experience to go through that. And I want to shout out Ethan Daubert for helping me out. That was an awesome guy through the process. Ethan Daubert, I mean, he worked for Cross Country Mortgage. I actually asked him at Morning Hoops, I'm like, what do you think about like if I could do this with my house, and would this go through or would that go through? And he's like, I think we could work something out around that. And I was like, yeah, I mean, if you could help me out, that'd be great. And I was probably hitting that guy with texts and calls on the weekends, and he was like, whatever you need. And I gotta give some credit to him, because he was big help with getting that whole deal settled. And Fred Long, you had Fred Long on too. Big,
Fred Long?
Yeah, big help in that process too. I mean, I appreciate those guys more than they know.
Well, they're great people.
Yeah,
salt of the earth. I feel like they do anything for you. I mean, I know Fred a little bit just because he's an avid listener of the podcast, which, again, I knew of his family business and what they do, but I didn't know him personally.
Yeah.
And then, meeting him and Ethan Daubert, I want to get him on, and his brother, I want to get him on too on the podcast. So if you guys are listening, let's get something penciled in a while. If it's all right with you, because you had this on the form, you mentioned losing your nephew, your best friend, to a drug overdose back in 2019.
Yep.
What was that like? It sounds like your life's good, you're riding a high, and then this happens.
Yeah. So I was actually at the London Cedar Crest basketball game, and my dad doesn't really ever say this. I get a text from him, and he's like, call me when you can. So I was like, all right, whatever. So I'm sitting at the game ends, I go out. Me and my girlfriend are driving home, and I call him, and he's like, I got some bad news. And I'm like, well, what's that? And he's like, Antoine was at a home out in Lancaster, and they found him overdosed. Wait, who? And he's like, Capri. And I'm like, no way. Like, there's no way. And when you get that news from a childhood best friend, like and I never had that experience, but when you get that news that's just so devastating with somebody your age, you really it just processes. You're like, can't be, and that honestly, that broke me pretty bad. Reality set in big time. Like I said, the real world, it's a brutal place, and it doesn't really care who you are.
Yeah.
It'll tear you down, and you just got to keep getting up and getting after it. And this tore me down pretty bad. He actually overdosed. He got his first paycheck and used it for the wrong reasons.
No shit.
Yep. And it happens more often than what people know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so many young kids out there that are battling drug addiction, and they go through corrupt homes and all this stuff, and then they get out, and they kind of just have no path. They have no guidance. My first thought was, what about my other little nephews, like his brothers? He had 3 younger brothers.
Oh wow.
And his mom. So I get in touch with them, and then obviously I'm over there all the time trying to take care of them as best as I can, do my part. I probably wasn't involved as much as I should have been before this, but I do what I can. We were all childhood best friends growing up, so it hit tough. It hit hard, but
it rocked you for sure.
Oh my God, it's somebody your age, and my first thought is just like so young, so much potential.
Right.
And that's what I think now when I see it in the news, and not even just drug overdose, but just committing crimes and being involved with the wrong people, and it's like so much potential just wasted. It's like all they need is a little bit of guidance.
Exactly.
So I get through the heartbreak of all that, and then my thought is like, how can I help? Like, how can I guide? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
want to help and be a guidance. So we went through that and got through that, and his mom is, obviously she's still a little bit depressed from that. And we get through it, and I take good care of them as much as I can. And it's just that's still a good, tight family now. That kind of brought them close. So after that, I was thinking about how can I help. So I was helping with coaching a little bit, like we said, coaches have a crazy impact on kids.
Definitely.
So I was helping with football, basketball, wherever I could help there. And then I'm helping with my nephews and trying to do the best I can with them. After that, I'm kind of just getting into like the fitness aspect.
Yeah.
So then I got into doing some races, some lifting, and I have a little bit of fitness background from sports in high school. So I felt like if that potential was lost in my nephew, like one thing I can't do to myself is let any potential on the table. Like I got to make sure that when I get to that point where it's like the end and it's like, all right, you did this, and this, like that's me. Like that's exactly what I accomplished. Yeah. That's what I could do. And I went over.
So when you say get to the end, like you're meaning,
like I mean, I go to Judgment Day.
Yeah. End of your life.
And that's what I believe in. Mm-hmm. And I mean, anybody can believe in what they want, but I believe, and it's a big inspiration from David Goggins, actually.
Okay, is that what that is?
Yep.
DG, I see it. Okay.
David Goggins. And he always says, you know, my scariest thought is when I get to that day in front of God, and he says, you know, oh, here's the Navy SEAL, the guy who did ultra marathons, this, that, and the other thing. Yeah. And you're like, no, that's not me. And he was like, well, no, that's who you could have been.
Oh, wow.
It's like, well, I left it on the table. Yeah. And I didn't push. So now it's like, my thing is no potential left.
So you want to seize the moment. Like you want to go all in.
I'm going above. Like if I'm going to be this, I'm going more. That kind of really brought a fire in me, losing my nephew, and I just turned it into something positive.
Would you say, you know, losing your nephew, your best friend, that motivates you day in and day out to be the best version of yourself?
100%. I actually have my sister got a T-shirt that just says like in memory of Antoine Capri Benson and his dates and everything, and I actually have a cross with his name and his birthday on it on my neck everywhere I go, every single day. And actually during my last ultra marathon that I did, my first one, when times would get tough, you know, I'd hold on to this, and I'm like, you know, I'm he's with me. Yeah. Like no matter what, times would get tough. He went through some tough times. They ain't near as tough as like, well, his times are a lot tougher than what I'm going through right now. Right. So I can do this.
You can do it.
So I can do it. It's just that's a big motivator for me, and that keeps me disciplined. That keeps me consistent. And I have that T-shirt hanging in my room with a purple ribbon on it in memory of overdose awareness. Actually, my first marathon I did in Philly, half marathon, I had the purple ribbon on my shorts.
Wow. The whole time you kept it on there.
Yeah, exactly. So that was just him being with me, you know, carrying me through the tough times, right, and being with me through the good times. You got to take the good with the bad, and he's with me through all of them. So he motivates me, and he's definitely pushing me past my potential.
Your nephew, even in death, springboarded you to where you are now with the fitness, with the working out, with the marathons. I mean, what did you bring here? 2?
I got my first marathon medal in Philly, and then I actually just recently did a 50K, which is a little over 30 miles on a trail race, inspired by
this one here.
Yep, inspired by my good buddy Mitch Spittle.
Mitch Spittle, yeah, okay, yep. He was on the podcast. Great young man. I knew nothing about him until he came on.
Oh, guy's a beast.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's got the same mindset.
He actually just won an ultra marathon in Virginia. He ran, I believe it was 64 miles.
Wow.
It was a 10-hour race. So you run for 10 hours.
Nonstop.
A 4-mile loop, as much as you can.
Wow.
As many loops as you can. He beat the guy by like, the next guy behind him by like 7 miles.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's just drive. You just wanted more.
He's got it. Yeah.
Wow.
He's got it.
Okay. So you two work out a lot and
do runs we do
stuff.
A good amount together.
Push each other.
Yeah. We text each other a good amount, and he's on the grind too. So, you know, we talk as much as we can, but we're both out here trying to pass our potential.
So what were, you know, out of the 2 medals, what was like, okay, so this is dirt. This is like in the backwoods kind of thing?
Oh, yeah. That's
and then this is in the cities, right?
That's in the
Philly.
city, yep.
Okay, this is Philadelphia Marathon. What were some of the challenges you faced in each of those races? Like mentally, physically?
The marathon, I will say, you get into marathon prep, and I've only ever done a half marathon before that. When I got into marathon prep, it was a big eye-opener, the amount of miles you should run during a week. I think I maxed out at like, during my marathon prep, I did like 55 miles.
55 miles of training.
Like a week, during a week.
Okay, but still.
Yeah. the one training run I had was 22 miles, and I did it on the rail trail, and it was 11 miles out, 11 miles back. I don't like, I've definitely, since that ultra marathon, I've experienced worse, but before that ultra marathon, that 22-mile run was the worst experience I've ever had working out. It took me to a place where I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I started to have that self-doubt.
Mentally, you were fighting it.
You had that self-doubt, and that self-doubt will get you.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I can, like, nobody out here knows if I walk the rest of this. Nobody out here knows if I just call my dad and say, you know, pick me up at Colebrook. Nobody out here knows that. I did, and I couldn't let myself. But
self-accountability.
I mean, when I got to my car at the Rubro Barrel, it was like I just finished a 100-mile ultra marathon.
Wow.
Like, I was just like, it's over finally.
Yeah.
And I think I ate probably like a crazy amount of calories for breakfast.
I bet, yeah, because you burned so much, dude. That's wild. And then, so the Philadelphia Marathon, that's just on the street, so it's a lot. I mean, it's probably harder on your knees because you're, you know, but
it's a little fast. It's a lot faster.
There's
though.
probably no incline, right?
Yeah, it's pretty flat. I mean,
so what was that like? How many people ran in this? Hundreds, right?
Thousands.
Fucking thousands. Jesus.
Yeah. I mean,
this is cool. Hold on, I gotta. Dude, that's awesome. It's even got the Liberty Bell on it. All right,
you're a big Philly fan.
You know I am, dude. You know I am.
Yeah, no, that environment. You have people that you don't even know lined up along the streets.
Yeah.
And they got signs out there with funny sayings on them or whatever they put on them. Those guys are out there supporting you, and they don't know you from the next guy.
Yeah.
But regardless, they're out there cheering you on, and you come into that finish line, and you're 26 miles in, and the streets are lined with people, and they're just going crazy.
Yeah.
And you're just giving it, like, you're gassing it.
Right.
Whatever you got, and you get to the finish line, and it's like, that's contagious. It's contagious. Like, you get to the finish line, and my first thought is like, I want to go farther. Like, take me farther. So then I signed up for a 50K. Mitch actually did a 50-miler on the same course a year ago. So he was familiar with this course. We went out to, this is also in Philly, my 50K. It was supposed to rain that day. When we got there, it was like drizzling, and it was not bad. The course was still pretty solid. But 15 miles in, so one loop in, it got very, very muddy because of the other runners running on it too, patting it down and opening the course up. And then it started like pretty much downpour. I mean, I had my girlfriend there, and Nick was there, and Mitch was there. I came around a corner the one time, and they're standing out there like recording me, and they're soaked, and I'm like, dude, you can't ask for better people to support me. And I in that moment, I'm like, man, I'm blessed. Like, I'm out here doing this. It sucks, but these guys are out here right along by my side, giving me water bottles, giving me whatever I need. I appreciate them so much for that, because without them, I mean, I don't believe that it would be possible. It's pouring down rain. I'm like 20 miles in, and I got dudes running next to me, and they're like, oh, you know, how are you feeling? And I'm like, you know, whatever, I'm going through, pushing through, and I'm just grabbing onto my necklace and looking at my Team Tiff bracelet, and it's like, those things are pushing me through, and and it's just like one step in front of another. It's just like what my dad always preached to me. It's just one more step.
Yeah.
Show up one more time. One more step. If you can go one more step, why not take another one and take another one? And then before you know it, you're another mile. It's that compounded consistency that just adds up and adds up and adds up. And then all of a sudden you're at the finish line, and it's like, I did it.
You're where you want to be in life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't ever explain that feeling without somebody going through it. But that finish line feeling is something that I believe everybody should probably go through at some point. Yeah.
I got to start my journey.
Yeah, you
This
do.
might be a little bit, but yeah, I should take a look at that.
Because
I believe it. It gives you a rush, you know, and it gives you a feeling. And to have that base, you know, with, you mentioned Nick and Mitch and your girlfriend, what's her name?
Taylor.
Shout out Taylor. You know, to have them there in the pouring down rain, you know, and a lot of people would be like, I'll just see the post on social media or something like that. But they were actually there for you. That says a lot, you know. Says a lot about you, the people you come up with. Yeah.
I mean, just from day one growing up, the people I've been surrounded with definitely is the reason why I got on that right path, because it would be so easy for me to hop on a different path and just probably go out and do drugs and drink and not really care about my health, or because everybody around me was doing that.
Right.
But I just got caught up with that good group. And that's what I mean when I say the guidance, like that guidance for these kids growing up. That's all they need. They just need that one guy that goes into the park and plays basketball with them every day, or at school, that one teacher that just asks them how they're doing every day. The people don't realize those little gestures that just go so far for some of these kids, because they don't get that at home.
Yeah.
Even just my advice to people out there, just ask somebody, how you doing, or have a good day. Or every time I pass somebody on the rail trail when I'm running, I'll pass them one way and it'll be, good morning. And then I pass them back and it'll be, have a good day. Maybe they'll not hear that the rest of the day, but they got to hear it that day for me.
Exactly. And it probably meant a lot to them in that moment, because, most people, I think, don't even really communicate. Like you said, we're social beings, and I think it does stem from, the families throughout the country and throughout the world. It's those role models, mom, dad, older brother, older sister, and, how they educate, how they bring you up, how they, just be in your life, it means a lot to kids, and to 100%. Not have it takes a huge effect to not have that role model.
Yeah, you just got to have that social. I mean, it's funny, if you ask a lot of people that I'm surrounded by, they'll be like, man, everywhere we go, somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking in my head, well, I talk a lot, but a lot of people know me just because I've been around a lot of places. Like, I've been around a lot of groups. I've hung out in the city a long time. I've hung out in Cornwall a long time. I've hung out just everywhere. Everybody, there's a lot of people that know me. I mean, and you just meet people random different ways, but I talk to them. Like, I interact with them.
Right.
I don't just go around and just be Mr. in my phone the whole time, not talking to anybody, or antisocial because, I had a rough upbringing or whatever. Like you said, there's so many people that would have no idea of what I went through, because every day I went to school, or every day I showed up to football and track and basketball, had a smile on my face.
I was going to say, you always had a smile. I was just going to say
smile
that.
Because it could just help that one other person. And it's like, if you're doing good, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Then we're all going to be doing good.
Exactly.
And those are like Keffer and all them, those dudes, they definitely help me smile every day for sure.
There you go. And I wanted to hit on, as we start to wrap it up here, because you did 2 other items. You have the Bear Performance hat and then the shoes, which we'll have to get a picture of, but tell us a little bit about both of those.
So then I get into my fitness journey, and I find out about Nick Bear and Coach Bear's nephew.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Small world, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
God.
Grew up in Palmyra. So when I heard that, I was like, local dude, good cause, awesome message, go one more, which is big in what I say, because just one more day, whatever. And I ended up getting involved with his company. They reached out, and they actually thought that I was already like an ambassador for them.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, no, actually I'm not. And they're like, wait, what? And they're like, well, we got to get you a part of the team. And I'm like, I mean, dream come true right here.
Right, yeah.
Like, so then I got signed up with them as an ambassador with BPN, and get some supplements from them a lot. I get a lot of supplements from them, a lot of gear. They hook me up, definitely. Mitch always says it. He told his sister, he's like, look, if you're looking for Greg, look for the kid wearing the BPN gear.
Yeah.
Because I'm probably wearing something BPN everywhere I go. So I get involved with them, and I'm looking to obviously do more with them, as in go out to Texas sometime and meet up with them.
Dude, that'd be wild.
Yeah, and lift with those dudes.
Nick.
They have
Take Nick?
Yeah, I'll take Nick,
Yeah, gotta get some footage.
Oh, of course. They have ambassador weekends and stuff. So they do a lot for the ambassador program, and that's what I like. Like, we have team meetings, and they talk about, the message they want to spread, and products they have coming out, and all this different stuff. So they really involve the ambassadors with the company, and I love that. So I'm so fortunate to be involved with those guys. And I went on a call with them, on a Zoom call. They had a guest speaker who was the Kane owner, and he was talking to a bunch of ambassadors for BPN. And he's like, if you guys are interested in being ambassadors for Kane, just reach out, email, whatever. So I email him, and then he reaches out to me, and he says, we're going to be doing a trial, or like a tryout. And I was like, sounds good. So I got another pair of Canes. I had one pair. I already bought another pair. So I was like, I'm already kind of ahead of the game. I'm wearing them all the time, always in my gym edits and everything. So I reach out to Nick, and Nick's like, dude, we could get some good footage going, whatever.
Yeah.
We put out at the end of the month, we put out a good Kane video. We got some good footage at Cedar Crest, and immediately they reached out and they were like, send this footage to their person who takes care of all like the raw footage to put in for like their little commercials they make. And they're like, and congratulations, like you got accepted into our program. And I texted Nick immediately, and I'm like, dude, we did it.
Yeah.
Like we got in with them, and all it took is one video. So I'm like, Nick from the start, dude, he was invested in me, and he believed that we could do it. And, you know, we both kind of just believed in it, and we did it. I mean, it was awesome. So now I'm involved with them. They're going to have some similar, they have a similar ambassador program now as BPN. They're kind of following the BPN business style because BPN is becoming just so successful.
Yeah. So Kane, you know, is a shoe, but it's not like a sneaker or like what is it, Hook or Hauk or what's the HUK?
Oh, yeah, I did hear about those. Those are like recovery shoes too.
Yeah, so that's what this is. It's like a recovery shoe?
It's a recovery shoe. The sole is actually split into two, so it's called Kane because part of the sole is made out of sugar cane.
Whoa. I was wondering, okay, I was like, where did you get the name Kane?
It's like two parts of the sole, and then one part is like a little harder. The other part that your foot is touching is softer, so it has more cushion, and it helps with the bottom of your feet because the bottom of your feet when you're doing endurance and lifting stuff, it takes a beating, and you just want to really always take care of your feet. You never want to have problems with your feet.
Definitely,
you got to be on them every day.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of invested in them, and I actually had plantar fasciitis in my left foot after my marathon, and that's like when the bottom of your foot it feels like it's so tight that like there's like a band there, and it just doesn't want to stretch. It's a really tight stretch on the bottom of your foot, and every time I would wear my Canes, it was like I wouldn't feel it. I put on my work boots, I put on my running shoes, I put on my lifting shoes. I feel it. I put on my Canes, and I'm like, wow. I just feel good.
You feel real good.
Yeah, I feel good. So I'm like,
so they're comfy. They're nice,
so that's when I kind of started to invest in them more, and I was like, I like the message they push. Come back better.
Come back better. Ooh, that's nice. Now, what if you're not like a ultra runner, hybrid athlete? What if you're just like a dad, 2 kids, you know, and maybe you go for a walk here and there. Maybe you're getting back in. Is it for everybody?
Yeah, I mean, I would say if you're going for a walk and stuff, like I go for walks in my Canes all the time, just because I mean it's my recovery shoe. Like when I take off my work boots, put on my Canes, go to the gym. When I go for a run, I have my Canes with. As soon as I'm done with a run, put on my Canes. I go like we went out to the beach. I mean, they're great beach shoes. Obviously, they're like so breathable. So like we went out to the beach, we went out to eat and everything. I don't think me and my buddies, we were all wearing Canes. I don't think we took them off.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
wow.
so we just wore them everywhere. Like, we were at the beach, we wore them. If we were going out to eat, we wore them. I mean, I wear them. I have 3 pairs now. I probably rotate between all 3 of those.
Yeah.
Pretty much all the time.
Breathable, lightweight, comfortable Canes. Get you some.
Yeah. Come back better.
There you go. Come back better. Exactly. So how can our listeners connect with you and follow along on your journey?
I would say they could follow me on Instagram. I'm sure I'll be tagged on the post.
Yes.
And then if anybody ever wants to like reach out, you know, and run with me or lift with me. I mean, I lift with so many different people because I never want to turn somebody down. If they want to get better, I'll get better with them.
That's awesome. Yeah.
There's so many people, like I see some people at the YMCA and they want to lift, and I'll be like, all right, you know, I'll be here whenever. I'll hit you up and we hit a lift. Or like Nick, for example, we hit lifts, or I lift with 2 other kids. I lift with so many different people. It varies, but I don't care who I lift with or what you lift. Nobody's ever going to judge. Yeah. You know, we just go in there to get better all together. So
sounds like you're trying to throw down the gauntlet right now.
Oh yeah, like
like you're trying to call me out. Is that what you're doing?
I mean, hey, if you want to hit a lift, you let me know.
Man, I need to get back into it, man.
You're probably stronger than I am right now.
It's been a hot minute. No chance in hell, dude. But all right. So if anybody, no matter what their skill set, no matter how
fast they run or whatever, just reach out, and I'm always down to give advice or reach out on Instagram. I'm on TikTok, Facebook.
What are some of the handles?
My Instagram handle is @Greg Munnion, so it's simple. My TikTok is the same, and my Facebook is just. I'm sure if you look up Gregory Munnion, I'll be on there. It's probably like some shirtless picture of me as a profile picture or something like that. I take a lot of those.
That makes sense. I mean, look at you, you're jacked.
Yeah. You could find me on those platforms for sure. Reach out, and if anybody needs any advice with lifting, lifestyle, running, diet, you know, any of that stuff, I'm always willing to give time, just because I believe a fit community, you can never go wrong with a fit community or somebody who invests in their long-term health. So if anybody reaches out to me on that, I'm always willing to answer. It's not like I have a crazy amount of DMs coming in, so I can always answer. I got time. I'll be recovering for a while, so I got plenty of time.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know if we hit on that, but maybe you want to touch on that real quick for the listeners. What happened here?
Yeah, I was actually doing probably something I shouldn't have been doing, ego lifting on the bench, and I felt a little bit of strain in my core, and I was like, that might be a hernia. So I was like, well, I'll go get checked out, and I got checked out, and it was a hernia. Immediately my first thought was like, long-term health, take care of yourself and prioritize it. Most people don't prioritize hernias, and they live a lot of their life with it. So I got that fixed on Thursday, 2 days ago.
Jesus.
And now I'm in recovery for some time being, but like I said.
And what were you doing? You said, what'd you say?
I was ego lifting.
So what the hell's that?
I'm just probably putting too much. When you're out of high school and you're out of the competition stuff, there's no reason to be like max benching.
So you put a little too much on.
I was just testing the waters, and the waters
said not today.
They were too deep for me.
Take a break. Take a step back. All right.
So,
I got you.
So I got that fixed.
So that's fresh. Wow. I mean, wow. All right. And you're here on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm here on the podcast. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling
good. Good.
Like I said, everybody's saying like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear about your surgery or whatever, and I'm not really accepting sorry as like an answer, because I'm more just focused on it's God's plan. It's God's plan. One step backwards, 5 steps forward.
There you go.
So that's my goal. Just stay positive through tough times like this, and don't let anything keep you down for long, because it's really not worth it. There's so much time that as long as you just keep pushing forward, as long as I keep going one more day on this recovery, everything will fall into place and success will come.
Perfect. All right. So before we close out, is there anything else you'd like the listeners to know?
I want to push the message that we need to, as a community, just really invest in our youth and invest in the kids who, in the community, not just the kids. Like I said, just make somebody smile someday, or do what you can when you can for them, because some people just don't have that outside, like at home. They don't have that. They don't have that support at home. And at one point I didn't have it, and I shouted out so many people because I had such a great support growing up, and I still do, and I appreciate them. So just be somebody's support and spread that positivity, because positivity is contagious. So
there you go.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, someone's always looking up to you, whether they're younger or older, and you could have an impact on their life. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And I want to shout out Nick Felty over here, because you guys can't see him, but he's doing some video. This young man came in with Hollywood, brought 3 tripods, 3 cameras. So I don't know what's going to happen here, but thank you for coming in, Nick.
Shout out Nick. He's an awesome dude.
Dude, I'm excited. I'm real excited. So he's here. Hollywood's here. I'm going to wrap it up. Anything else?
I appreciate you having me on, dude.
Yeah,
It was so cool that we got to.
It's been a minute. Like I think you're one of the first guests to fill out the form.
Yeah, I was like, dude, Sully's got a podcast. I got to get on that thing.
Yeah. No,
so
I appreciate it.
I'm so fortunate to spread the message and try to be able to help as many people as I can.
Greg Munnion, a.k.a. Hollywood, hybrid athlete, and motivational influencer on the American Grown podcast in the Colortech Creative Solutions studios. Thank you for joining me.
Appreciate you, Sully.
Awesome, brother. Great job. To see photos of today's guests and more content, just search American Grown Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review.
If you'd like to be a featured guest on the podcast, please direct message or email Austin at americangrownpod@gmail.com.